Also, Spectral Weapon on a polearm is easy mode. I'll have to take your word for it because I've never had the lovely opportunity to try it myself. You know, it definitely makes sense. As long as your Spectral Weapon isn't taking too much damage, even though I guess at the end of the day it still would just be an overall reduction in the amount of damage you're taking, right? Because even if that the weapon itself is taking some bad hits, then you are still at the end of the day. Ooh. Oh, I have Scythe of Curses. I thought that this was Finisher off the top of my head. But at the end of the day, the Spectral Weapon still takes a percentage of the damage sent your way. So that is a bit of a fun interaction, to say the least. Why worship Hep when you can just bring your own companions in? Okay, I want to be a little bit careful with Death Curses here. Make sure that we don't get completely overwrought. But we should be fine against these small batches, no problem whatsoever. And perfect. Hello, Sphinx. Don't have time for any riddles today. We are just sprinting through this crypt. No, we'll pick up all the golds, and we are definitely looking pretty loaded on the money front here. Orb of Destruction finally added on. The Book of Dangerous Friends, I like that a lot. Berserk Potion can definitely be let lie for the time being. And perfect, I love these little treasure rooms, don't mind if I do. New boots. Is now the time to try out the Harm Ego? We definitely have a pretty powerful character here. A lot of hit points as well, so might be an interesting time to do so, but I don't know if I can bear it. I would hate to lose a very promising character in such an embarrassing manner. And just leave those other two. They can sleep the rest of the time. We're not here to murder everybody. We're here to get a job done. With the exception being, if I'm exceptionally close to casting Ignition in statue form, then maybe we have to go back and take care of those friends. Hopefully not. It'd be nice to just let them sleep. They've probably had a tough weekday, or a tough week in general, I should say. Work has been absolutely stressful for most of the Hell Knights, from what I've heard. Hello friend, please don't summon anyone. Perfect. I mean, they didn't listen to me, but at least it wasn't a problem. Ooh, and there are the rest of the spells coming in one by one here. Let's probably read this. Right, we can't enchant armor that is blessed by Ashen Zari. So this will just have to join the ranks of the rest of unused enchant armor scrolls. We're always just a little bit too zealous in popping on whatever we could. Vulnerability to cold. I don't think I like. I mean, I don't think our gloves do anything right now. They are just +1 gloves with a curse on them. But vulnerabilities are not something that I'm interested in unless the trade-off comes at a very beneficial price. Also, right, Sojibo, hello. Let's take a look at you. Definitely managed to take you out without too much trouble before. Though I'm always ready to be proven wrong by these late game uniques. Because she's definitely one tough son of a gun. Were these both Reavers? They are. Oh, and one has a buckler of reflection. So this can get reflected back at me? I think it can. But it's not going to. Okay, ain't no thing. And then, let's bring you back. Let's bring a friend into existence. We can step over to let them join us here. Okay, it's that easy, folks. Just have a giant old oxen beast there to constrict all your enemies. And that's it. That's the game in a nutshell, I guess. Though, of course, not that I'm complaining to any degree here. Happy to see it. That is the end of Crypt for us. We now have Ignition to a relatively castable state when we're outside of statue form, but in statue form, still 13%. I guess I don't need ignition. It was just kind of for fun. Between manifold assault, our condenser vein, and the sheer number of consumables at our disposal, we should be in an alright place for vaults. And on some levels, I think that Abyss might almost be a safer third rune. I just feel myself wanting to try out vaults when we have the opportunity to, and we have a character that's strong enough to do so, because it's not always the case, for sure. Especially since I believe the next species that we'll be playing here is Palantonga, and I'm not likely to be a spellcaster there, so let's do it, shall we? It's been too long since I visited Vaults 5, and I hear that Vaults 5 is nice this time of year, so let's check it out. Oh, not there. There we go. The thing we want to do before heading down, of course, is to make sure that we have all of the things at our disposal right away. Actually, one thing is that we haven't touched the Scroll of Acquirement yet, but it might actually be time to switch this off, and in fact, we probably should have done so already. We're at maxed out willpower stacks, so we don't necessarily need this Cloak of Willpower here. It's Companions and Cunning, so we're not going to be losing any extremely beneficial curse bonuses. I think I might. Just give me an extra little bit of resistance. We're likely to find a lot of fire and ice down at the bottom of this stairwell here. And we shouldn't need all 5 pips of willpower. 4 should be enough. And we might even be at 5 with our innate plus some of the statistical gains. So I think one way or another, I've convinced myself. It's time to shatter some chains. This is just a +1 cloak, and for the first time in this entire run, I'm going to remember that what we should really do here is enchant this scarf before we give it a curse. So we'll quickly zip on out, la-ti-da, and let us... Oh wait, we can't enchant scarves. Huh. Thanks, Coville. You definitely tried your best to warn us in time, but fascinating. That's all good. I guess at the end of the day, it's what we're used to. So we're 1 AC short, or 2 AC shorter than we used to be, just because we did have a +1 cloak before, but we are upped in terms of our resistances here, and I think I'm very happy to see that. And on the other plus side of things is the fact that I'm crossing my fingers that we get an elemental bonus here, because our scarf does not meld into our body when we go statue form. So that's pretty huge. Okie dokie. Last things to process before jumping into the breach here. We probably want to chug some potions, something like Might and Haste. Ooh, probably Brilliance too, actually. There's like a new downside to this, isn't there? I think we lose some of our willpower afterwards, unless that change got reverted at some point. Also, it's nice to confirm that we are in fact at 5 pips of willpower, even without that cloak. Scarves of Elements with AC 2 OP, I definitely can't disagree with you there. But okie dokie, I think we're all set. So let us quaff down a couple potions here. I like to start with Haste, because it makes the rest a little bit quicker to drink here. Even though we will lose Haste first, I guess, which is an interesting one. But kind of excited to see how Manifold Assault does when we're all buffed up like this, the strongest we've ever been. Let's head down and see how we fare, how our luck is looking. It's a bit interesting whether or not to Condenser Vein right away here, because we definitely could, and we'd be likely to regain enough, or gain enough experience, I should say, in order to recharge said Condenser Vein. But maybe it'll make a little bit more noise, because the more enemies are on our screen here, the more we're able to, or the more clouds we spawn, is what I'm trying to say. So, that in mind, I'm actually going to start with one Oops, Manifold Assault. Let's stop looking around with X there. And we just hit that one buddy. One friend got hit by our Manifold Assault. So I guess OTR is another one that we should have just popped on immediately here. Still no Vault Wardens in sight, so we can retreat up if need be. Let's throw out another Manifold Assault. Again. Perfect. Toxicity comes back into it. So satisfying to be able to take out large groups of enemies like this. You'd love to see it. Also seeming to get very lucky with the number of enemies here. I swear I'm used to getting met by a bit more resistance here. Tap, quickly knock on like all the wood I can possibly find around me. Shouldn't say stuff like that, not when we're currently in the midst of clearing our way through vaults, but that's fine. I think I will use our condenser vein now, just because it also makes a decent amount of noise, and it will help clear through this group as we slowly but surely are regaining our magic points here. Using tab a little bit instead of our spells. Perfect. Entropy Weaver kind of sucks. Same with that Annihilator we see in the bottom right corner there. Could be a bit of a pain in the rear, so I'm going to radiate some contamination energy just to be guaranteed to hit that Entropy Weaver. Perfect. And then maybe throw out a Manifold Assault again. Just get some overall damage being placed. We are slowly but surely being whittled down ourselves. But no Vault Wardens yet. So worried that I'm going to be caught in a lurch completely by surprise when the one pops around a corner the exact turn that we have need to retreat up the stairs, but we never don't have it, right? That's the whole thing here. Hey Svindard, how's it going? Hope you've had a great day so far. It is nice to see you around here. Always nice to see friends showing up. Alright, we can do another quick blast of contamination energy, and there we go. Now it's just cleaning up the scraps. Oh gosh. So I tab and get pulled 4 different directions all at once. That's very much a classic Vaults 5 motif here, and we do actually confirm to have our condenser vein back online after dispatching that group of enemies. You love to see it. Brilliance is also still enacted, so I think I'm happy to blast out a few casts of that, and then should be able to fight the rest of you the old-fashioned way. Still no Vault Guardians, still no Horrifying Uniques. Love to see it. It's the combo we're always wishing for. Tanger Reaver definitely gets my priority in taking out because, again, they have all the elements at their disposal, including Corrosion, which even with Resistance 2 absolutely slams us. It is a bit of a pain to deal with. Should also make sure that we're in statue form when possible, and that should just about do it. We've broken our way in. Also, wait, is this the real rune? Can the real silver rune please stand up? Oh my gosh, it is. Well, that was quick. So we could just finish this encounter that we're actively fighting right now and then just leave if we wanted. That's wild. I don't know if I will. There's so much treasure. And again, anything that we can secure now that will give the future generations of Gnolls back home a better future, we're kind of obligated to check it out, right? There's the Vault Warden that I was so afraid of. A little bit late, bud, but effort is appreciated. A lot of EXP and loot in Vaults 5, I definitely agree with that, yeah. And I do actually truly want Ignition up and running by the time we get through to Zot. So we probably will continue to fight our way through here. Almost more scared now than when we first came down here because we aren't completely buffed up with everything or every possible advantage we can eke out of it. But all things considered, not too shabby. An anti-magic. That would probably have been good for me to notice on coming in. Also picked up Gozag's Indignation here. Gozag is apparently upset that we're doing well in a run where we aren't worshipping them, because that seemed to have been a recurring pattern for the longest time, that I was only able to do well on runs following greed itself. But it is what it is, and it's definitely going well with Ashnzari here, to say the least. Only with a reflective ego do you purposely not step towards the Arbalist firing buddy there, hoping that they'll just take themselves out. It's more fun that way. And I am truly loving Manifold Assault. What a fun spell. I think I might have used it once before. Oh, and in fact, I did recently try to play through a couple rounds on the meat sprint. So that's one of the sprint modes in the game. And that is a pretty ridiculous one where you're just facing off against constantly ever increasing strength of monsters. But I had recently learned of a new strategy, I think from the subreddit, or the subreddit I should say, where you take in a genie warper, because a warper is guaranteed to have Manifold Assault, and you get the plus infinity Executioner Axe when you start that sprint, and so it leads to a really fun combo where you're just one hit killing everything on screen once per turn. Wild stuff. Hello friends. Speaking of Manifold Assault, let's do so, and actually I am going to walk back to the hallway so that we're only being hit by one buddy at a time, and then we can just continually Manifold Assault to get in good damages on absolutely everybody in the background. We'd love to see it. I guess you're not Distortion, right? Okay, that's good. That would have been a painful surprise to come across. But all things considered, definitely a solid fight, because I got a little bit worried when everything popped into existence there. And ooh, we're just hit the final level, 27 itself here. So let's take a quick look at where our skills are at. It does seem like 17 is about where things should be, and then thanks to Ashnzari, we're up in nearing the 20s in a lot of different departments, so that is absolutely fantastic to see. Outside of statue form, we also have 5% ignition, so it's going to be like a 9%? 10% with statue form on. Good to know. We're also hoping to, pretty soon here, get another curse offering. That's got to be a fake silver rune this time, right? But we're hoping for an offering of elements, because that should tip us over the cusp to where we are completely able to cast ignition a bit more frequently here. I also now, or just now, with some retrospect, am realizing probably the issue that we ran into previously, because we enchanted our sword with the elemental boost, and then it seemed like there was no change in the casting failure rate for ignition. It's probably because I was not statue formed when I first checked, and then I was statue formed after putting the curse on. At least that's my guess. I can always run back the tape in the future here and double check to see if that was in fact the case. But it at least would make sense to me why it didn't change at all, even with the boost being added. So please walk my way. It sucks when everyone just walks away from you and you're too slow to keep up. It's hard to make friends when they all just keep running away. That should be just about it. Another artifact pair of gloves for us to just turn our nose up at. Love to see it. Just immediately destroy the Quicksilver Dragon. And then, oh, not for 3 for 3. You son of a gun. Why'd you wake up? We had a beautiful thing going, Vault Guardian, or Warden, whatever you're called. But that should be just about it. Perfect, and that's Vaults 5. Way easier than I expected it to be, than it had any rights to be even. But I will definitely take whatever we can get here, and that brings us up to our 3rd rune. So we are ready for Zot now if we're feeling up to it, and I do believe we are. We're pretty close to an ignition castable, at least enough to use it in a frightening situation, and besides that, we have a lot of tools at our disposal, so should be good. So what would be a weapon you were looking for at this point? Yeah, I'm not sure. There aren't a lot that would make me give up the Autumn Katana. Even though the Autumn Katana is just a solid weapon, it's not specifically giving us anything amazing necessarily. But maybe something with no downsides that has a ridiculous amount of intelligence boost added to it or something like that. We could also take a quick look for our, let's add brand weapon so that we narrow down the options a bit. But we could try and rebrand the Trishula in our inventory and see if we get something like, I don't know, maybe Vampiric might be nice, even though we'll be facing off less and less fully living things as we go down. But it's nice to have some source of healing over the course of an extended encounter. Could be fun. I think we're doing fine for Zot Clock. Definitely should be, all things considered. I don't know. Railbird with a big no. Definitely is also tempting to just keep Holy Wrath, because I guess that is a pretty solid weapon to be bringing into the late game in particular. The Trishula is a 15 rune weapon, don't change it. Well, take your word for that, even though I don't even know if I'll end up using it throughout the course of the rest of the run here. I think I will stick to the Autumn Katana for now. I guess, oh, that would have maybe made Abyss Rune. I mean, we've already done vaults now, but we could have gone for the Abyss Rune with a holy weapon. That would have been fairly straightforward for making it through a lot of the scary demons that we may or may not encounter down there. Definitely through Pan, though, it's awesome to have a holy branded weapon, so I definitely get your reticence there, Railbird. But okie dokie. I think with that, let's enter in our 3 runes to the lock, and so it begins. We'll start off with the usual routine here of reading magic mapping immediately as we pop down to Zot, trying to remember to do it for each and every floor. Sometimes I'm a little lackluster in doing so, but it's nice to have a good idea of all the different potential escape routes and whatnot. Ah, that happened fast. I mean, blinks around will do that to you, I guess. But unfortunately for these sons of guns, we do have a pretty solid way to take out surrounding groups of enemies, so we'll just immediately resort to that. There's still a purple draconian, so we don't necessarily want to go back into statue form, or rather we might just immediately lose our statue form even if we do. But now's about the time where I think I'm happy to do so, and we can benefit from that for the rest. There was a green draconian, so I guess that's where some things, or where it could have gone a little bit sketchy. But all is well here. I will bring these buddies back into a bit better of a hallway situation. Hello, friends. That's not fun. Can somebody please stand next to me so I don't get damnation sent my way? The Trishula of Holy Wrath is one of those types of weapons that you only come across once in a game. No, that is definitely true. I almost always only ever see Trishulas in general when I happen to fight Menace. Or Menace? Okie dokie. Definitely starting to take a bit of damage here, but nothing quite into the fully frightening category, and so I'm just going to throw out a couple of manifold assaults, trying to take care of the dang old annihilator. And then let's actually take a step back. Let's bring in a friend as we continually draw in more and more enemies here. We're apparently making just a whole lot of noise, as it were. That is all good. The thing I want to keep in mind here is that if I'm concerned whatsoever, I should just like Condenser Vein. Something like that. Nice, quick, and easy way to deal a whole lot of AoE. On the other side of the coin, we could try for an ignition, 9%. It's not bad odds. It does bring us down to no mana points whatsoever. Which I do want to be able to recast statue form if things go poorly here, so let's instead go with that condenser vein, and that should help take care of a lot of the enemies. Even if we can just go back to reducing it to just the hallway worth of opponents, then I am completely honkadory with that. And indeed that does look to be the case. Right, of course this trident isn't going to be phased. It's not even a living thing. But let's come back to our clouds, make sure that all of these enemies are walking through those as much as possible. Wait, now you're warning me? Oh, because I'm not statue formed anymore. That makes sense. Let's do it. You never used to find Drac packs deadly, but they seem deadlier as the versions go past. I fully agree with that. I feel like I take them for granted each and every time. And just think like, oh, what are they going to do to me? We've dealt with many worse fights in the past, especially since I got used to having like an OTR combo for the longest, OTR Ignite Poison combo rather, for the longest time. And that put me into a bit of a false sense of security. Just because it does so often enable you to take out these Drac packs a little more easily than you otherwise might be able to. But at the end of the day, all enemies in this game, especially those that you find in this final section, are dangerous and worthy of your cautious consideration. Excuse me, friend. Could you step this way? There you are. Ouch. What else do you have at your disposal? You have smiting, you have your Searing Breath, making sure there's no damnation that I'm just forgetting about here. In contrast, Vampiric Band on Demon Tridents are more common in a 15-room game. You'll definitely encounter Demon Trident brand Vampiric or Electrocution. Right, it was more so for fun anyway in that department, just because I do feel fairly confident that we aren't necessarily even going to be switching weapons by the end state here. It was more so a fun option to maybe try something out. Let's see, let's bring in some friends. Even just one friend, I guess, because that's all we have the magic for, right? Kind of forgot how low we were in that department. And we can back up. I was debating just like taking an ambrosia or something like that, trying to get a little bit of health back, but I think for the most part, we should be good here. I'm just gonna take it slow, taking it one turn at a time, letting our regen come in and save our lives as well. And then now for the first time since we got down to this Ashen Zari Forsaken place, let's actually heal up. It's nice to be out of the grinder there, a bit more to a controlled situation. Definitely closer than we otherwise might have liked, but it is what it is. And we did manage to clear whatever this center room was, at least for the most part, and I'm guessing that's where a lot of enemies came from at the start of the encounter. The rest of these bad boys can just get a mixture of poisoned and assaulted in the manifold sense, and that should do it. So we bounce around a little bit because we're just, again, too sneaky. It's constantly just walking on by. It's a good problem to have, all things considered. Should have probably focused a little more on taking down the Moth of Wrath before they enraged the Storm Dragon here. That's fine. I can just take you all into a nice little corridor and then use Manifold Assault to not kill the Moth of Wrath. Apparently it's just not going to happen. Not today. Not any day. Ooh. A little bit of pushback from our dragon friend here. That's fine. Debating changing tacks whatsoever, but we should be all solid still. As I use up far more magic power than I should. We're switching back to just ye old slashy. Perfect. And there we go. Another big old pack of enemies cleared out. Sure, it's not the last one, not even on this floor, but we'll keep taking whatever you throw at us, game. We'll do our best. Let's immediately go back into statue form for the defensive boosts. Tab at the perfect rate here. It's funny, there is like slow tabbing, which is when I'm being very methodical. There's fast tabbing where I'm essentially just holding it down. And then there's this like mixed period where I'm trying to be cognizant and aware of any threats that might pop on the screen, while also trying to not spend too long in a kind of menial labor section of the fight. Should be all good here. Let's manifold assault. I think I'm manifold assaulting, right? Indeed I am. Kind of forgot that I set up a macro for the E slot in my spells, but no matter. Always a time to learn and put it forth in the future, right? We're very much looking for the element boost here. I think even with our ability to cast Ignition pretty much a foregone conclusion, it would still be nice to have any extra power that we possibly can added on to that. And we are just way too powerful with our katana here. Again, I want to use spells. I want to show off a little bit. But at the end of the day, if we're just killing everything, what's a Gnoll to do? Ah, there we go. This changes things. Our first Orb of Fire showing up. We do not have good resistance to fire. We do have 2 pips now at least, thanks to our scarf. So that's better than it used to be for sure. That is good to note that that's what we have to deal with in just a moment here. Let's bring a friend into this world. They should help us take out the enemies in relatively short order. Friend, are you doing something here? You don't have reach, do you? It does fly swiftly and unpredictably, so there is that. Okie dokie. Orb of Fire next? Oh no, not Orb of Fire next. We're going to be fighting the last couple of you first. That's too bad. I was mostly hoping to have an ally at my side for the Orb of Fire fight in particular, but it is what it is. We'll obviously take our lumps where we get them. Then let's see if we can soften up this Orb of Fire with our Manifold Assault and our friend at our side. Doing surprisingly well so far, heck yeah. And then just Irradiate should finish the job. Irradiate should, excuse me game? Irradiate should finish the job. There we go. Perfect. Exactly as Ash and Zarya intended it. And I think this room is clear, so it's a good place to rest up, re-heal all of our magic points, and that was a good experiment, a good way of seeing how well or how capable we are at dealing with Orbs of Fire, because they will start to come up in large quantities in the later stages of the game, I am sure. Won't be changing out our necklace for that one. Definitely happy with our current iteration here. And perfect, we can just keep it going here. Trying to see which keys count to pass the force more along there. It's less than I initially suspected, but that's all good. It's hard to play one-handed when you're taking a drink just because O and Tab are on opposite sides of the keyboard. Maybe one of these days I'll have to specifically edit our C file and stuff, if just to give myself better one-handed playing capabilities. As is, I just do a full like piano stretch across the two and go back and forth a little bit. There we go, not too bad. Zot 1 cleared without too much difficulty, a couple of good experiments. 14 scrolls of blinking, holy cow. Well, let's read another magic mapping, shall we? And see what other spells we can pick up. Ooh, Lahudib's Crystal Spear. We can probably actually cast that. I think that one's level 8, and it's mixed school, so we're actually better than the average character at doing so. 10% cast, okay. So not quite there, but it's not bad, it's not bad. Guess we have a couple of element boosting Ash and Zarya gear. but we don't have very many. What gives conjuration? Is that burglary? I think burglary is the one that gave conjurations. I knew that it was something that I didn't immediately think tracked one-to-one. It didn't come off as intuitive to me because it was thrown in there with, yeah, like hexes and a couple others. If you learn Crystal Sphere in Spellforge Servitor, you don't actually need to cast Sphere ever. This is very true. And as long as you avoid getting murdered by your own Spellforge Servitor, as they accidentally, you know, miss an enemy and it goes through, that is by far my favorite combination in the game for killing off some of the scarier beasties. More specifically, in the few 15 rune games that I've attempted in the past, I've definitely killed most Panlords with Spellforge Servitor and Lohidev's Crystal Sphere because they are just able to fire those things off at an ungodly rate. It is a thing of beauty, to say the very least. But we can do a mixture of Toxic Radiation and Manifold Assault here to just absolutely slap. Might as well kill the Purple Draconian before going back into the statue form as well. Perfect. Wait, what? That's never happened to you? That's horrifying. Your game you just won used that combo? No, it's a terrible experience when it catches you by surprise. Takes a while to parse what even happened. I think more often you see like Orbs of Destruction having similar behavior, which definitely makes sense. Let's go back into statue form here. But yeah, any of the spells, if they miss their targets, also have the opportunity to go through like that, which can be absolutely brutal. I usually try and keep it in the back of my mind, just make sure that I'm being a bit cautious about my positioning. For all I know, that has been changed since it was a problem that I remembered facing, but the way we stay safe is to not make any assumptions and instead just always try our very best to play it carefully here. There we go. Let's take out the Purple Draconian so I can go back into statue form. Curse of Cunning and Companions ain't quite going to cut it, Ashen'Zari, I'm sorry to say. Not that I'm complaining, you've done me absolute wonders throughout the entirety of the run, but this scarf is waiting for a different day to arrive. I also should have looked. Okay, Autumn Katana did not get renamed when it got cursed. I'm curious, maybe most artifacts, or all artifacts even, don't get the renaming mechanic like that. Which is too bad, because I wanted to see what other creations Ashen'Zari would put forth here. So I'm hoping we will eventually enchant our scarf here, and we'll be able to take a look at what name it is knighted with here.